I am delighted to introduce Patty Loud, who is a distinguished Toastmaster and a founding member of the Omni-Pro Speakers Bureau, sponsored by District 83. This evening, Patty will share her thoughts on how you can lose those pandemic pounds by telling us how she lost weight during the pandemic. Please be advised that she is not a medical professional and cannot address specific questions about dieting or weight loss. While her strategies may not help those with certain medical conditions or people who are on certain medications, her story is encouraging and may help people who gained weight during the pandemic quarantine to lose those pandemic pounds. Let's welcome Patty Loud.
Thank you, Michelle. I'll be sharing some slides with you this evening. Okay, you should be seeing those. Okay, got those? Great, thank you. Okay, are you a victim of the quarantine 15? It's similar to the freshman 15. You may have heard of this. It's when a young adult leaves home for college, goes on an unlimited meal plan, and gains 15 pounds in a year. According to the American Psychological Association, over 40% of people gained weight since the start of the pandemic. The average reported weight gain during the COVID quarantine was almost 30 pounds. And then there's me. I lost over 20 pounds. Today, I will tell you how I did this. As I share my story with you, feel free to make some of my tips yours. Come along on my journey this evening. You don't need yoga mats, hand weights, or running shoes tonight. You've got what it takes to lose those pandemic pounds. Those of you that know me may not see any difference in how I look. People generally don't notice weight gains and losses, as these changes tend to happen slowly. Most people gain an average of 1 to 2 pounds per year. That doesn't sound like much, but this amounts to 10 to 20 pounds over the course of 10 years. Health officials worry that these small gains can lead to obesity over time. Think about it this way. If you gain a barely noticeable 2 pounds per year, in 25 years, you're carrying an additional 50 pounds. Over the course of time, you might notice that your jeans feel a bit more snug, and you might head out to the store and buy a larger size. Anyone heard of vanity sizing? That's when clothing manufacturers assign smaller sizes to clothing to encourage sales. Let's say you're a size 14. That's the average woman's dress size in the US. A dress that may have been a size 14 previously is now a size 12. When you step into that dressing room, you may be happy to see that your size hasn't changed, but that old size 14 dress is actually now labeled for size 12, and you're now seeing yourself in a size 16 relabeled by the manufacturer as a 14, just to keep you happy. After all, wouldn't you rather keep your dress size than see it increase to a larger size? I experienced this firsthand a few years ago. I pulled my size off the rack, but everything I tried was too big. My new size was actually relabeled as 2 sizes smaller. Who do you think walked out of that dressing room smiling? Did I really lose all that weight? I had actually gained weight, but the manufacturer had changed their size chart. Smiles for everyone. I recently learned that some manufacturers update their size charts annually, and they base their information on the average person's size. I expect we'll see lots of size changes as manufacturers adjust to what some call our new normal. In the work-at-home world of sweatpants and t-shirts, you wouldn't even notice that your tailored suits no longer fit you. After all, Our suits haven't left their hangers in over a year. As people start heading back to the office, weight gains that took place throughout the quarantine will gain more attention, as will clothes shopping and dieting. Many people will want to drop those pandemic pounds. Let me share my weight loss experience with you. I believe you've got what it takes to lose those pandemic pounds. As I mentioned previously, weight gains and losses happen slowly. When intentionally dieting to lose weight, the losses happen at about the rate of 1 to 2 pounds per week. According to the CDC, this is a normal and healthy rate to lose the pounds. About a month into the quarantine, I had lost about 5 pounds. I could feel it, and it felt pretty good. My clothes seemed a little roomy, and I had a new spring in my step. But as the weeks wore on, I continued to lose pounds. 10 pounds, 15, 20. Although it occurred at a healthy rate of 1 to 2 pounds per week, I started to worry. I hadn't made any changes, had I? I wasn't dieting. What was happening? As I considered this, pondering a list of all the possible diseases that cause weight loss, my phone rang. It was my doctor's office asking if I wanted to come in for a physical, since I was overdue for a checkup. Hello, there's a pandemic outside. The last place I was going was to a doctor's office. Oh, it's okay, they told me. They aren't seeing sick people. But you're a doctor's office. Where would the sick people go? Anyway, I finally did go 6 months later, and everything was fine. I slowly came to the realization that I had made some changes in my life during the pandemic quarantine. These changes, although seemingly small, were affecting my health in a really good way. Let me share those changes with you. You know what they say, weight loss happens in the kitchen. Let's start with restaurants. Who doesn't love eating out? But what do you do when all the restaurants shut down, removing the option to dine out? Cook. I had learned how to cook healthy years ago. Instead of dining out regularly, I started cooking every meal at home. Every meal. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. It was all healthy cooking. I loved French fries, but I didn't like to fry. Goodbye, French fries. Hello, baked potatoes. Goodbye, fried chicken. Hello, oven-baked chicken. And on it went. Small changes, good changes, healthy changes. What wouldn't I give up? Pizza. As with many busy families, pizza was a weekly event in my life. After my children were born, I joined Weight Watchers to lose those stubborn pounds. Fun fact, did you know that you only lose about 10 pounds during childbirth? The baby. That's right. I had gained 60 pounds during my last pregnancy. 60. I didn't plan to keep the other 50, but getting rid of it was hard work. I thought, I can do this. I've got what it takes. When I hit a plateau, the leader looked at my food record and told me, lose the pizza. I just looked at her. Now that was just not going to happen. She asked, can't you at least remove the pepperoni topping? Okay, I did and moved past the plateau. How was I going to get my pizza fix during the restaurant shutdown? When the pandemic began, people started cleaning groceries with alcohol and chlorine. How do you clean a takeout pizza? I looked up a recipe for homemade pizza. I even topped it with some healthy peppers and mushrooms, although I did splurge once with pepperoni. I was so proud of it, I took a picture. Doesn't that look good? I may never get takeout again. Just know this, everything, even pizza, tastes better when it is homemade. Cooking and baking at home allows you to control the ingredients. How much sugar, salt, and fat goes in the dish is up to you. Here's another big advantage of cooking at home. You control the portion sizes. I once ordered a venison stew at a diner. It was $6. Seriously, restaurant plates in the US are almost as big as my Thanksgiving turkey platter. 2 or 3 people can eat a single restaurant portion. Instead of getting 3 square meals a day, you get 5 when one of them is a restaurant dinner plate. That takes its toll on your waistline over time. Dieting tricks recommend things like asking for a doggy bag and packing up half the meal before you put your fork into it, or ordering lunch-size portions for a more reasonable size plate. At home, you can fix a plate with a reasonable portion. How many of us grew up with a mom that said, "Eat everything on your plate. There are starving children in the world." While my mom insisted that she never uttered those words, I still found it difficult to put the fork down until my plate was empty. It's especially difficult when you're sitting in front of your favorite dish. Who can actually walk away from a plate of homemade spaghetti? I mean, homemade spaghetti. Not me. Here's a simple solution. Instead of turning food out into bowls on the table, leave it on the stove or put it on the counter, or better yet, in the refrigerator after you fix your dish. Tell yourself you are not going back for seconds or thirds or fourths. Remember the 5 seconds rule. That's right, no returning for seconds a 5th time either. I eat slowly to savor every bite. Ask my family, I'm always the last one at the table to finish eating. I drink water or skim milk with my meal to help me feel full. Here's a big secret. I have dessert. For me, this is small and simple, perhaps a single cookie or a piece of chocolate. My favorite, dark chocolate chip. I'm careful to watch the calories here, and I don't overdo it. Even if the box says that a serving is 2 cookies, I find that one does the trick for me. I take one out, close the box, put the box away, and sit back down at the table to eat it. Drives my son crazy. Dessert tells my stomach that the meal is over. That helps my portion control too. I would never want to throw more mashed potatoes on top of a sweet treat. This is my reminder that the meal is over and I should put the fork down. Besides, I hear that dark chocolate has other health benefits. Who doesn't love that? Speaking of things we love, how about movies on the big screen? Before the pandemic, I remember sitting in the movie theater with a large bucket of popcorn on my lap. And yes, of course I put melted butter on it. My companion said he would share it with me, hence the larger size. But as it turned out, he had only 3 pieces and left me to eat the entire bucket myself. My jeans were already feeling a little tight, probably just from shrinking in the dryer, but they seemed to get a little tighter that day. Look at us now, 18 months later. I haven't been to the movie theater since COVID started. No more giant buckets of popcorn with melted butter. Did you know that 2 tablespoons of popcorn kernels yields 5 cups of popcorn for a total of only 100 calories? You don't even need oil when popping. Even microwave popcorn in front of Netflix is a lot healthier than eating a giant bucket. I can find single-serve portions that are sized just right for one. Even the buttered varieties contain a lot less calories than those huge buckets at the theater. But just in case we find ourselves in the popcorn line at the theater again, here's a tip I learned. Most theaters offer a small, child-sized portion, not just for kids anymore. All the goodness in a more reasonably sized serving. Pandemic stress certainly made it tough for people who stress eat. I tend to stress starve. Generally, that little bit of dessert I eat after a meal often helps keep me satisfied until the next meal. But like most people, I do still enjoy snacks on occasion. I try to snack healthy. I swap out potato chips for baked crackers. I bought small snack-sized chocolate. This mini chocolate bar contains 4 pieces. It is half of a 130-calorie serving, making that little piece of chocolate less than 20 calories, but oh so satisfying. I eat it slowly to savor it. I can take a full hour to eat a Reese's peanut butter cup. Don't bet against me. People have lost that wager. Snacks get put away at my house. I don't leave them in plain sight on the counter. I set limits for myself. Yes, it takes discipline, but I've got what it takes, and it's worth it. I'll bet you've got what it takes as well. Finally, I keep moving. The gyms were all closed last year, but I found tons of workout videos online. YouTube is a great resource. Exercise not only helps in weight loss, but it gives you energy and feels really good to your body. Even simple walking helps burn calories. I got into the habit of pacing during my phone calls. We spent a lot of time on the phone during the pandemic since we couldn't meet friends face to face. When the phone rings, I now automatically jump up from the chair and walk around the house as I talk. Lots of phone calls, lots of walking, lots of calories burned. A 1-hour phone call could be exhausting. I'm about to exhaust my time limit for today. I'm glad I was able to share with you the main things that contributed to my weight loss during the quarantine. By cooking healthy at home, watching portion sizes, keeping snacking in check, and moving more, I dropped over 20 pounds during the pandemic quarantine. If you're looking to drop some pandemic pounds, some of my changes could work for you too. You've got what it takes to lose those pandemic pounds. It was a pleasure to present for you today. If you'd like, if we have a minute, you could type into the chat some things that you might take away, maybe some moves that you can do, or maybe some foods that you want to try. Maybe some recipes. The internet is such a great resource. Marguerite's saying she loves the hint of a smaller piece of dark chocolate. A small piece of dark chocolate. It doesn't have to be very big. This big gives you such a nice feeling, that taste, that sweetness in your mouth. It stays with you for a while. You don't need the whole bar. Just that little piece is so satisfying. Don't chew it, just suck on it, and it'll last. Thanks for joining us this evening. Michelle?
Okay, well, let's give a round of applause to Patty. Thank you, Patty, for sharing those tips and suggestions with us. We're going to have some pasta tonight. Homemade, not like homemade your own pasta, but pasta dinner that's homemade and not taken out. So definitely eating at home and cooking our own meals is definitely something that we've done more of during the pandemic. And that was healthy for our pocketbook as well. You know, I think that was one of the best things that we did, was save some money in that regard.